I'm Dr. Karen Calendo, and Lisa, do you want? Yeah, I'm Dr.
Yep.
Karen Calendo, and I am an associate professor at Concordia University, Chicago. I teach management and healthcare administration courses from doctorate down, and also I'm the discipline chair for that. And prior to being at Concordia, I was at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, where I worked with and ran entrepreneurship programs for veterans, training programs and stuff, which was very exciting. I really liked that a lot. My background is public health and also a business owner at that time in my life. And my coworker, Liesl Cottrell, if you want to share about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Liesl. I'm the director of the library here at Concordia University, Chicago. I've been here about 4 years now, and I was the primary investigator for I'm still for two grants. One is finally finished, one is still ongoing, but they're both for OER development here at Concordia. And before coming over here, I was the library director at Resurrection University / Oak Point University for almost 10 years. And that was a health science institution, whereas Concordia, we have so many different degrees and so many programs and so many colleges. And it's really fun to learn about the intricacies of that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So I guess this is my slide. Hooray! So we pursued OERs primarily because of a grant that happened. So I'm a part of a consortium called CARLI. It's here in Illinois. Woohoo! Yay, CARLI! I'm hoping some CARLI people are on here. And it was a SCOERs grant. So it was money from the Department of Education in developing OERs that CARLI was able to distribute. And so all of the academic libraries in CARLI could apply for the grant. And basically, the whole purpose was to start replacing publisher controlled content with materials that were designed by faculty members for the students. And so I didn't know much about OERs, and so it was very actually difficult for me to translate this opportunity to other faculty members because OERs were really, even though they were around for 20 years at this point, it was not as talked about, at least I think, maybe in the Midwest. I know at Concordia it wasn't talked about yet. So this was the first opportunity for the library and for faculty to come together and start something new.
Yeah, and so Lisa went to I'm in the college of business, and Lisa went to a Christmas party there, and she started talking about the grant and asked if I was interested in writing a OER textbook for one of our courses in the College of Business. And she had explained what it was, and the more I listened, I was like, oh my gosh, I have the perfect class, because we have this one course that's a core course that everybody at the College of Business has to take. And what happens is we had a publisher that was good. It was good, but it was expensive. And as you'll learn later on in the slides, a lot of our population could afford it. So I had a significant amount of students either dropping or failing the class, which just because they didn't have the textbook, because part of the textbook was an online homework piece. And so that immediately, and I would like beg them in the beginning of class, saying you've got to get this or you're not going to pass it. It's statistically impossible to pass this class if you do not buy this book. Which broke my heart, understanding the population we served. And so Liesl came with the answer for me and for the students.
Well, and also from the library perspective, the reason I knew about this issue is because students were also coming to the library and hoping that we had one or two physical copies that would give the students access codes. And we had to explain, well, that's illegal. We can't do that. But then the other technology problem was, if a student even had this textbook and they didn't put in the code correctly, it was very hard for them to work with the textbooks technology team in getting things figured out. So there were our instructional design team, their hands were tied too. They couldn't help the students if they had any technology barriers. So not only was it a cost barrier, there was technology, accessibility, etc. It was a huge snowball.
Okay, so you understand, we're giving you a snapshot of Concordia. One of the reasons is this is like a really good university to use OERs. And because our graduation population, I think one of the most important is first generation. We have a huge percent, over 50, do you know the number? 50, right?
I want to say it's definitely over 50%
Yeah.
for first gen. Mm-hmm.
First gen, and so we have um when you look at our students, you have some that are very highly skilled and you have some that really struggle. And and then also I don't know why, but in the College of Business, like 50% of our students actually are athletes, which is important when I built the book to add examples using that. We have diverse. Another thing that's really important to understand about Concordia is that we're a conservative Lutheran school. We have pre-seminary students. Every term I get pre-seminaries in my class, or their dad was a minister. And with that, one of my goals in writing this textbook and the title of this presentation is to have a mission-based textbook that aligns with the values and mission and values of Concordia. Even just to give you a little sense too, at Concordia, I mean, you could have a degree from Harvard, Penn State, but if you don't pass the mission section, you're not working at Concordia. And I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it because I've been on search teams and they didn't pass it. So that's how strict, I mean, very kind and warm. People say that all the time. So I don't want to like, we're just this really, no, very kind and warm, but here's the real point. They really stick to their mission. That's the real point.
Yep. And I think that's why upper administration was interested in this idea of an OER, because we could make it mission driven.
Also, I want to highlight, the reason I'm highlighting, because some of the people in the audience or later watching this, you may have a special population. Maybe it's not Lutheran, maybe it's a certain that you think, oh gosh, well, I could adapt it to the population that I'm serving. So I think that's an important piece of information to have.
So then growing pains. So we did receive the grant from CARLI, and it was the first large grant our university had received by this kind of project. So even though we had gotten the grant, we weren't even sure if we could accept the grant. So there was a lot of conversation with administration at that time and developments of policies and procedures that we did not have yet. So it really sparked a new movement for the university, which was fantastic. But it was a little scary too, because as a PI, Karen, myself, and our colleague Beth Delagrassi, we worked so hard on that application because we knew that OERs were really going to make a difference for the classes that we had selected this project for. But we plowed through, And we started developing our team to create these OERs. So there was Karen and then Dr. Elizabeth Delagrassi. She was the other College of Business faculty member who was a part of the grant. And then there was myself. When we started designing the OERs, you just can't, throw it all together and say, hey, it's fantastic. You need to have that editor, that proofreader, the accessibility checker. You need to make sure all of the citations from the former OERs are still correct. Are the links still working? Is the information even accurate? Is it current? And then, of course, we had our wonderful admin assistant from the College of Business that, kept us all floating and together. And yeah, so it was a very interesting time.
Yeah, also it took a lot of training. We got it through CARLI, and then LibreTech was amazing. If you see at the bottom of this page, a shout out to Delmar. He was absolutely amazing. I mean, what Delmar has done is just incredible, impacting so many people's lives, and has made it with these trainings. Once you learn it, it's just you just get addicted to it. Before I wanted to help my students, but now that I've done this, I just absolutely love it. And there's just so much potential with once you get this knowledge and the training on it, what you could do with it. So thank you, Delmar, for what you've done with this. It's really is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we just wanted to highlight that there are a lot of resources out there, and it can be overwhelming in the beginning. And we also
Mhm.
know those who work in higher ed may or may not want to ask for help. But if you do, it's probably going to save you a ton of time. So
Oh, that's so true. I didn't know how, as a faculty, I could use my library. That's what I thought it was. Like, I can't ask for that. That's my job. And then I found out, no, Liesl can do this for me. I'm like, wow, thanks. Um, okay, next slide.
yep. So then, when we started getting access to LibreText and really working with the remixer, the conductor pages, and really starting to understand the layout of how this all worked, learning curve as there is with everything, but also really trying to understand what is open access, what is Creative Commons licensing, CC-4, but also, as we started looking at textbooks, I know for Karen's class, there was a textbook we had pre-selected, like, ooh, this would be a really good one to remix. And then we decided, well, Karen decided, no, actually, there's something else that I like that's even better. And you can do that. You can just, slap it in as long as it's an OER and it's, open license. You can remix it with the tool that Delmar's, company has. It's fantastic. But there's going to be, of course, when you're developing your OER, that there might be some missing gaps that you teach in your class that you can't find anywhere. And that's why if you have a library team to help you find as many OERs as possible and you discover there is content that's not out there, then you do have to develop original content too. But then another thing is, you want to make this OER as engaging as possible. You just don't want it to be a wall of text like some textbooks maybe. And so, as the kind of editor, I was in charge of finding images that had the Creative Commons license. But now with AI generated images too, now you can start creating images that work for your textbook if you know how to use the prompt properly. And that's actually something that I'm currently doing with another OER that I'm developing with College of Education faculty, because there are some images out there that just don't work for their textbook. And so we're designing AI images to match the chapters that they're writing right now. And then, of course, when you have videos embedded in your textbook, yeah, it's amazing. And we had this with Karen's book and with Beth's book as well. It's just, it makes it so much more interactive for college students who don't want to look at that physical book, or they're just used to, using their phone and they need that alternative interaction. And then I'm sure everyone knows here, the OERs are free to access and adapt and redistribute. But something that some faculty members may not realize is that, if you develop an OER, you're not going to get royalties. So if you're looking for more passive income, this is not the way to go, because OERs is to make it open for everyone.
Yeah, Liesl actually had a professor that thought you were gonna get royalties. Okay, so I'm gonna take you through the process of how I put together my book. And with it, one of the goals is, as I mentioned before, really to align ours with the mission and identity, but also engagement from students, feedback from students. So from the very get-go, I did a focus group. Before I created the textbook, I did a focus group. I asked students if they could have any type of textbook, what was important to them, what would they like in the textbook, what don't they like in the textbook. Did they want more videos? Did they want more words? What did they want? And so that really helped me in being able to realize the balance of how much videos to words and what it was helpful for them. I even had a contest and we voted on, it was like 40 students voted on the cover of the textbook. If it was me, I would have selected a different cover, but I'm much more older than my freshman level students. And also I want to say too, a lot of my teaching was adult learning, and then all of a sudden I was teaching freshmen. And so my examples, I had to really change a lot of my examples. So what I did was I took a lot of ones when I worked on the textbook, I will put in examples that I thought would really resonate with the students. And I was aware because of papers they did, like I had a lot of students write leadership papers on Taylor Swift. And at first, like personally, I wouldn't have used that. And then I'm like, well, it makes sense. She is a billionaire. She does have a business. And so I embedded that, the principles she used and more of an academic perspective on it. And also, this is Chicago. We did win the World Series after 100 years. And so it may have been 10 years ago, almost 9, 10. We still talk about it. So that's in my textbook. So I try to do relative stories. Also, important things like if you teach business, one of the things we did in my classroom is the final was for students to do a presentation and write a business plan. They were divided in teams. They came up with a business, and they identified a business they want to do, and we worked on a business plan throughout the course, and those were the assignments. So I aligned the chapters to help in this process, and so I was able to put materials into the textbook that help with the assignments I'm actually was asking the students to do. For example, the SBA, Small Business Administration, has a lot of free materials for students and for business owners. And so is allowed to put that information in. And also what another thing was, what's so great is you could update it anytime. I will also put in leaders. A lot of the data was just in examples were so old. In my remixing, I put in well-known leaders, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and I'm finding that if you're in my book, you're going to be in the news, I guess, a lot of things. But anyways, and then this summer, every summer I'm just going to update my book and put more examples and stuff. We were on a time crunch because it was a grant. The book didn't turn out exactly where I would want it to be because I had to end at a certain time. But the beauty is I could keep updating. Now back to the mission and identity. What I did was in the beginning of each chapter, I put biblical insight section that align with the teachings for that subject, and which would work at some universities, wouldn't work at others, but it aligns with our mission. And it also aligns with my personal mission. You know, one of my goals is to teach. At Concordia, we talk about whatever your job is, your vocation, that's what God's called you to. And so I try to embed that into the students and teach them how do they bring God into the business world. And then I ended it with a post focus group to see what worked, what didn't work, and to make some tweaking. Like I learned that students wanted more step-by-step directions. For example, if you did a SWOT analysis, those that know what a SWOT analysis is step-by-step directions. So what worked were the focus groups. I think were really good, and just being the ability to update materials that relate to your students, whoever your students are, and also to align it to your mission. Okay, this is our data from our research department. Liesl and I did not pull this together. So if you look at the very beginning, our failure drop and withdrawal rate was at 19.73, which is extremely high if you think about it. If every single student in the College of Business has to take this course, that means 19.73% of the students have to retake it, or they're going to have to switch their degree. Okay. And as you will see, after that, the next year, it went from 1973 to 8.59. And then if you drop down one more point, it'll say the pass rate. We went from an 84% pass rate and right now to 93.75, dipped a little last year, 93.55. So you can see what a difference it's making in the classroom. The only change we made was the textbook. And because I've been teaching this class for a long time prior to it and after it. So, and then you could see the breakdown of the grades. So students were doing much better just because we changed the textbook, and I credit it to the point of the cost, because students couldn't afford the textbook. And second, having materials they could relate to and aligning it to the assignments we're actually doing.
Something else I wanted just to point out is the head count that we have up here. So pre-OER was 147 students total that took the class management 2001. So almost 20% couldn't pass it. And then post OER, we had a little dip in student body, but then even just last what I'm assuming this is the spring semester itself. So we have more students here than we did back there, and our pass rate still jumped up significantly, almost 10%. It's absolutely phenomenal. And we were just so excited to see these numbers. It was, this is of course from the Office of Institutional Effectiveness and Planning that we have. This is not numbers that we track ourselves, but we, have departments that do this for us. But it's just we were so excited.
One quick question. Do you actually have any pre-COVID numbers to compare to? Because you might be on the tail edge of COVID, which had a significant impact on how students were performing.
That's a really great question. I'll ask Diana and see if maybe we could do like a 10-year projection and see.
I mean, if you just have 19, just that 2019 comparison, then that would be all is necessary. But yes,
that's a great point.
We did meet face to face. We weren't online for these classes, so just with this data, just so you know. Also, just to reiterate, my one of the things I realized in the process is I thought just buying the textbook would make a difference that was affordable, and that does matter. It really does matter, obviously. But again, I think also the ability to adapt it to your own whatever your population is significant. because publishers now throw everything in the kitchen sink into it, and it doesn't mean it relates to your own population. And there's so much information maybe there you wouldn't use anyhow. You sort of have to sort through what's most important to highlight.
Yeah.
Okay, so the biggest impact, sort of touched on it, removing barriers, student involvement. I really like the student involvement and their feedback on the textbook. What was interesting in the focus group, I actually had a couple students that originally signed up to do the focus group for the textbook, part of our grant, and they actually weren't in the class that we did it, but they were able to look at it. And so there was just 2 students with that, and the rest were students that participated in the class and with the textbook. And the ones that didn't have the textbook, they had to pay for their own, and saw this, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're kidding! You got to have this book." I mean, they made a big deal about it, which was interesting to me. Again, aligning the textbook with the courses, relevant examples, update anytime, the social justice aspects. The thing I didn't talk about, it sparks other projects at Concordia. We were able to, Liesl, kudos to her, got another grant. So we were able to expand into other colleges here at the university. And I was on the Gen Ed committee where we're looking at our Gen Eds and stuff, and brought up the idea of using OERs for our Gen Eds, which just makes total sense. And so they're in the process of that. It's in the back door. Liesl was working on people in the back door. Hey, you guys should be using this for the general eds, and they're embracing it. They're really, and even now in the College of Business, when we go to write a new course or update a course, we immediately first look to see if there's an OER available.
And they reach out to the library.
It also enhanced scholarship, and which was nice because especially I don't know. I know there's people out there are real scholars and love research and stuff, and I do, but I also love to teach. So I keep thinking I'm always trying to upgrade my classes and doing that. And sometimes I neglect the research part of it because we're not like a research university. However, you don't get advancements if you don't have research, right? And so this helps us for scholarship, and not only that, because it's not Yale, I mean, it's little Concordia. I always felt like if I wrote journals or whatever, who's really going to read them? Where with this, I could really embrace this, that I know I'm having an impact, if that makes any sense to people. And we saw the significant difference with the failure rate, with the stats we show with the video beforehand.
So another big thing is, because this was library sparked, it really built a fantastic bridge and partnership with faculty, not just in the College of Business, like Karen had mentioned, but because we had such a great positive experience with LibreText and with CARLI, with the development of these OERs, that the university was willing and excited for me to pursue an additional grant. And this was through the Illinois State Library. So it's definitely picking up here in the state of Illinois. And so now we are designing 3 more OERs for our university here at Concordia. So 2 for the undergrad and 1 for the grad program as well. And it's been great because the deans and our subject matter experts in other colleges are just very interested in how else this can improve student satisfaction and even faculty satisfaction too. But the OER has really helped eliminate tons of tech issues for if you have a publisher controlled content embedded in Blackboard, you're going to have some more tech problems if the faculty or the student don't put in the code properly. And so another thing I did not mention is instructional design now reports to me as well. So I'm hearing constantly like, hey, I haven't actually heard of a complaint with an OER when it comes to technology, which is fantastic. But another thing that I know that Karen briefly touched on, that students recognize the textbook as being made for them. They realize, oh, this is something that actually is going to matter, whether, especially if you're using local examples and stuff that's more meaningful to them, unless and they know that, and that's what's going to cause them to pay attention. But then, one big hurdle that I had to do was find a champion for OERs. And that's when Karen and Beth became my champions. And with Karen being on the, what was it, Karen, the undergraduate faculty.
Gen Ed. Yeah,
Thank you,
good.
the Gen Ed. That really is what sparked the urgency to find more grants, to create more projects. And overall, it really does increase the faculty and student satisfaction, not just with the textbooks, but if it's library headed, we have great relationships now with faculty who are designing this. And though, another purpose is that we want the faculty to feel comfortable coming to the library so we can help them with their research and help them with expanding their classes when they have to update their course content. We want the faculty to know you're not alone. The library is absolutely here to help. But if we don't get out of the library and don't start making those relationships with faculty, that type of conversation is never going to happen.
Liesl, how many, Delmar asked, how many OER projects are we working on?
Right now, so we have 3 that we're currently working on right now. One actually just finished this past fall. It's for Dr. David Bates' history class. He remixed the American Yawp, and he is actually going to be updating it a little bit more this summer based off of student feedback. And he did ask students, what they thought of it, and he actually shared the remixed version with previous students, and they really liked it a lot more. They felt it was more engaging, which is funny because the American Yawp is an open access textbook, but he wanted to intertwine more primary sources within the American Yawp. So even though it made it bigger and longer, students liked it more. And then the next OER is I'm working with Dr. Heather Dieter, and she's developed a remix of a microbiology lab manual. She is currently on maternity leave, but when she returns, she's going to be implementing that book this fall as well. And it was remixed by, I want to say, 6 different textbooks. It was a monster of a project for her, but she's she's so much better with technology, I think, than I am, which I'm okay. I give myself a B. But she was able to hit the ground running. She learned how to navigate LibreText very quickly, and she just threw it all together, and she said, okay, now start reading it and proofreading it and do the accessibility checking. And I said, yes, ma'am. And then the final one is an original OER that's being created by our College of Education faculty. There is Dr. Mary Zaharis, Dr. Denise Glasgow, and Dr. Paul Sims. And they are designing an OER for Illinois superintendents. And so the Concordia has a really robust program here for helping principals become elevated to the superintendent level. And there's no textbook actually for this field. So they are designing original content, and it's going to be open for anyone in the state of Illinois who wants to go to that status. And those are the projects that we're currently working on right now.
Also, to add to that project, Lisa, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Mary was telling me that that data changes every year. And so she was always hesitant to put together a book for it. And now, because it's an OER, it's something she could easily update every year for students. So that's really important.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also what I want to highlight too, it brings about other partnerships, other opportunities. What worked for me is that I have a colleague that teaches, well, actually she does IT stuff in design. I shouldn't say IT stuff. She's designing the online program for this medical school in South Africa. And also she works with one of the seminaries in South Africa, and the churches in South Africa are different than the United States because in South Africa, if you're going to be a pastor, you still have to work, where in the United States, majority do not have to. And so her and I were talking, and she goes, the idea for these pastors, if they could start their own business, she goes, would you consider writing a course for this seminary? And I said, well, absolutely. I said, I already have the textbook because my textbook aligns with writing a business plan. And so because of that, it's an easy, I would have been really hesitant beforehand if I hadn't had that textbook. A, they wouldn't have been able to afford it, probably, maybe. B, it'll now be free for them, and then it'll be much easier to conduct and put together this course because of the textbook. So my point is it has a global impact. Also, I was on a committee where we put together a prayer book for actually it's for all the Concordias, but mainly for Concordia, Chicago. And I had talked to the head pastor that was putting together. And I said, this could be an OER and available to schools like seminary schools and schools across the globe. And so I still didn't do it. That's my summer goal with that into an OER. But it just opens the door for other things, is my point. So
Yeah. So we want to thank everyone.
yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for LibreTech for even having this, teaching us, taking the time, and I'm just amazed by the support that LibreTech and Delmer, all that you do and your team does. I mean, you're just so available to help. It's so wonderful. We're thankful to CARLI. We just want to say that in case they're here. I mean, even if they're not here, we're thankful to them. Because without that grant, we wouldn't have done it because we wouldn't know how. And so anyways, we're very thankful.
Yeah.
So this opens up to any questions if anybody has any questions.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful. One thing to note is that the CARLI was funded by the Open Textbook Pilot grant from the university, not the university, the Department of Education, which is the same grant that basically kickstarted the LibreText project when we got the inaugural money in 2018 and moving forward. So I'm very happy in order to see that project resulting in nice impact like what was presented today.
Thank you.
Okay.
I was looking at the chat. Oh my goodness, there's so many.
Sorry, we couldn't see them when we were speaking. I couldn't see them at least.
I couldn't either. I didn't even see things pop up, so sorry. We weren't intending to ignore people.
Yeah. There's any
There
questions?
was a lot of commentary, not necessarily any explicit questions other than what
Right.
Okay.
How about we start with the general question that we'd ask for anyone doing OER? What were some of the issues that you guys had that you had to overcome in building what you've done?
I think it was just really, learning how to use the software, and really trying to understand, what is an open image or an open video, an open textbook that may or may not even be on the LibreText platform. There was a lot of like, oh my gosh, am I allowed to use this? And, just still trying to understand like what is, copyright. And then of course, now with AI mixed in there too, there's still, some nervousness about using it. But what about you, Karen?
Yeah, definitely the training, even though LibreTech has amazing trainings, but at first we weren't really linked to LibreTech, so it was we sort of got lost a little bit in the woods in the very beginning. And then also the mindset, myself and Dr. Del Grazia would be like, I feel like I'm cheating. I feel like I'm cheating because you could just use other people's stuff. And it was just, you have to like turn that voice off that you're not cheating. So that was a challenge. So I would say the training and and understanding what we could do, and just, and then, yeah, I would say those were biggest challenges.
Yeah. No, I agree, especially when I think there was this moment where you wanted to grab something from a copyrighted textbook too.
Mhm.
And we had to reach out to the publisher to see, how much content. And, we decided, I think it was just like a little blurb, and then we would, hyperlink to their website. But it's hard because you get very excited about grabbing things from other resources. You just have to, like Karen said, it felt like cheating, and it felt like, doing something that we've been told over and over not to do, which is copy other people's work. So
So far in this week, we've discussed both homework and ancillary materials. And you've created a lot of ancillary materials for your project, if I remember correctly. A lot of PowerPoint presentations and other
oh
things like
gosh, yes.
that.
Yeah,
Uh,
and the nice thing is you don't have to do it all at once. Yes, I did do that. And then like this year I want to add some uh quizzes, and again update my textbook to more relevant um information. I feel like the front of the book is stronger than the back of my book because of the time restraints. So, it's just a work in process. So that's the beauty of it, is even if you don't get where you want to go, which is a lot of times life, you think you're going to do whatever in a certain amount of time, that you could just keep doing it. And for me, summer's the best time to do it because the school year's so crazy.
Yeah.
So you mentioned homework as a critical component for moving forward with that, but I don't think you've used any homework on the adapt system that we have. Were you able to address that in a different platform, or is that something you're planning on doing in the near future? Or
Well, at Concordia, we still use Blackboard for all our courses, whether it's online or not. You know what I mean? So a lot of that stuff's embedded in that platform. Um, and it's not the homework they have these, because they're in teams and they're working on a business plan. They're doing different aspects. It's not your typical homework like you would think, like, oh, answer 20 questions. It's not that kind of homework. It's okay. Give me 3 different businesses you think you would want to do. Tell me the strengths and weaknesses of each, and then which one do you choose and why? That kind of stuff. So it's more narrative reflective stuff, and then do a SWOT analysis, so I don't know, maybe I could use in there, but because of how our Blackboard it sort of works that way. But if you have recommendations, definitely let me know.
well,
I
you're
think we were also a little nervous to start an additional project too. I know that from like my information perspective, I was like, this is a whole other thing that we'd have to learn about, and it took us months to wrap our heads around LibreText, like the conductor page and how to format it. I don't think we had enough time
Yeah.
to learn about the HP. I'm sorry, the adapt. And it is, if that's something that does work with Blackboard Ultra, I'm game for promoting it.
Well, it certainly does, but from what you mentioned, it's not the right technology. But the Forge that we introduced on Tuesday for long form projects is probably ideal for that. Uh,
Okay.
Initially generated for essays, but we use them from lab reports and other things like that. And so, if you have an interest to discuss that, it's worthwhile doing so. But it's worthwhile for me to at least bring it up here within the context of what we've discussed in this week's
Absolutely.
session.
Absolutely.
So.